Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3RaiderFax, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, and there's plenty of football to talk about.
There have been a lot of changes over the past week, and we're going to break it all down for you, so let's get started.
Today on the show, we will take a look at the news from the past week, including the opening of free agency, and we'll discuss what the Raiders have done so far and what we think they still need to do.
All right, Raider Nation, this is the Only Nation podcast, so we want to hear from the Only Nation, so be sure to give us a call at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can leave us a voicemail or send us a text.
Here's the latest Raider news.
The move that probably had most of Raider Nation talking about, more than any other move, was the parting of All-Pro center Rodney Hudson. Hudson, who had expressed displeasure with the lack of progress during his tenure with the Silver and Black, wanted to be released. The Raiders found a trade partner, and he was subsequently dealt to the Arizona Cardinals for a 2021 third-round pick. The Raiders gave up their seventh-round pick as a part of the deal.
You know, it's sad to see Rodney go. I loved watching him and Gabe pull wide and run over defensive backs. We've talked about him on this podcast, about him being probably the best center we've had since Jim Otto or Dave Dalby. He's right up there with those guys in my mind. The guy only allowed a few sacks in 7 years. You know what I mean? That's awesome. He earned every penny that he was paid. But it looks like the Raiders are going younger. So, good luck, Rodney, and thanks for everything that you did for us.
And I wish Rodney Hudson well. I'm actually wearing his jersey as we're doing this podcast. It may be the last time I wear it, but he was not only the rock of that offensive line, but he provided so much support and so much leadership for the rest of the guys on the group. And I'm sure that Andre James learned so much from Rodney just being his understudy. And, of course, Andre James is the guy who's going to be snapping the ball now. But I certainly want to take this opportunity to wish Rodney Hudson well. I'm going to miss him, but we're going younger and we're going cheaper, and that's just the way things are. So we just have to move on ahead.
The beginning of the new league year saw the Raiders very active in free agency. They signed defensive end Yannick Ngakoue, defensive tackle Solomon Thomas, defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, and they re-signed Denzel Good, Nicholas Morrow, Zay Jones, Derek Carrier, and Theo Riddick. And then they added wide receiver John Brown, running back Kenyon Drake, and offensive lineman Nick Martin.
Yeah, I'm excited about the addition of Kenyon Drake. And, of course, John Gruden has been enamored and just obsessed with this term, the Joker. And I think he wanted to really implement that last year with our good friend who then we had to ship off to Miami, Mr. Bowden. We never really got a look at him. But Kenyon Drake, he's not a replacement for Josh Jacobs, and I don't think we're going to have a running back tandem, but I think this really gives the running back room a whole different look. I'm really excited, and I'm also excited that we brought in wide receiver John Brown for only $3 million. I hated to see Nelson Aguilar go, but we're bringing in a guy who's got a lot of the same skill sets that Henry Ruggs has, the speed, plus he's a proven receiver. So I like the additions that they've made.
For me, the biggest one is Yannick Ngakoue, right? The Raider Nation was clamoring for him during the season. We wanted to trade for him. Some of us wanted to trade for him. Some of us didn't want to trade for him. I'm happy that we signed him, but I'm most happy that we kept our draft capital. I think that this shows that this organization is going to be patient. They want to get players without losing draft picks because they are drafting pretty good. I think Arnett's going to play a lot better this year. We'll see what they do with free safety, but Yannick Ngakoue is going to be able to break down those lanes, get in those lanes, get the sacks, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Max Crosby, move Cleveland Farrell on the inside. This guy changes the defensive line, and this is the guy that we wanted, and we still got the draft pick. So I'm excited about that pick because we were patient with it. And the Kenyon Drake pick, that one, too, has me excited. That guy's 6'1", 215, 4.45. I mean, that's the kind of breakaway speed that we need with some size. And you know what? 10 touchdowns last year, y'all. That's what we need. That sounds like he's going to be that running back, inside the 5-yard line. Josh Jacobs in between the 20s, Kenyon Drake, boom, inside the 5-yard line. That's that. Hopefully he could be that Zach Crockett, that Tyrone Wheatley, Kenyon Drake right behind Alec Ingold. Man, I'm excited to see that. So there's a lot to be excited for. They got all these defensive tackles, these high-pick defensive tackles coming in hungry. So this is a major deal. We'll get into how the Raider Nation reacted beforehand and Homer's hammer here in a little bit, but I mean, all in all, this was a great free agency so far.
Yeah, and I really like the pickup of Kenyon Drake as well. I'm not that impressed with the pay they gave him. It is pretty high for a running back, but he had a great year last year, so it's somewhat justified. But I really like his pickup. I like the Ngakoue pickup. And I also like the John Brown pickup. He's a lot like Nelson Aguilar. The one thing that is a knock on him is that he's not as strong. He's a smaller guy. But, he's a speedster and he has a lot of the attributes that Aguilar had. So I'm really happy that we got him as well. Guard Gabe Jackson, who was actually on the trade block last year for a time, was traded to the Seattle Seahawks for a 2021 fifth-round pick. His departure means that the only 2 returning starting linemen from Game 1 of the 2020 season are Colton Miller and Richie Incognito, who was also brought back for another year after being released.
Again, I'm going to miss watching Gabe Jackson pull wide and running over defensive backs. That guy was a great guard. We paid him well. He earned every penny. And him and Hudson, they're friends apparently, and they were upset that they were asked for, to take a pay cut essentially. But we're in those times right now. We're in this COVIDian times, as Raider Nicky likes to say. But I'm gonna miss him. Yeah, he was a great offensive lineman. He was on the trade block last year, so it's not really surprising. So it is what it is. They are going younger. And then, as far as Colton Miller and Richie Incognito being the only returning linemen, hey, Denzel Good played a lot last year. And he's that guard, tackle, combo offensive lineman. He's a true offensive lineman. So that comforts me. So really, you're only looking at one spot, which I think that's definitely what Gruden's going to go for in the draft. That 17th overall pick is going to take the best available offensive lineman. But we'll see. But good luck to Gabe Jackson.
You would think so. And, of course, Gruden's first pick when he came back in the first round was Colton Miller. So it looks like they may have to go back to the well and draft a tackle for the right side. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens when they come to picking up Colton Miller's option next year. It looks like they probably will because that's Gruden's guy. But we'll wait and see. Now, it looks like all indicators are that they'll probably go offensive line now in that first round. But I still think they need to pick up an experienced offensive tackle somewhere here in free agency.
Former Raider tackle Donald Penn signed a one-day contract with the Silver and Black so that he could retire as a Raider. A veteran of 11 NFL seasons, including 5 with the Silver and Black, Penn earned 2 Pro Bowl selections in 2016 and 17 as a left tackle for the Raiders, where he had his greatest success as a pro. Congratulations, Donald, on a great career. It was great to see him come back and retire as a Raider.
And I'll just echo the kudos and the sentiments. I was so glad to see Donald Penn come back and retire as a Raider and reflect on all those great times he spent helping to anchor that offensive line during the last season that the Raiders went back to the postseason.
I think this is perfect timing, right? Donald Penn shows that he wants to come back and retire a Raider. He wanted to come back because John Gruden was here and because he was a Raider fan. So this is perfect timing. We needed this. The fan base was trashing the team, talking about, nobody wanted to play for Gruden. We'll get into this, but look, I'm glad he came back. He did. He talked about, wanting to come back and break that playoff drought, and they did. It's unfortunate that we didn't win a Super Bowl with him here. That would have been great. But he gave us his all. Another guy that gave us his all that played with Gabe and Rodney. That was a great offensive line. You know what I mean? Those guys were badass. And I'll always remember those guys. So thank you, Donald Penn, Gabe Jackson, and Rodney Hudson for helping the Raiders break that playoff drought in 2016. Once a Raider, always a Raider.
At the end of the week, Nevin Lawson was re-signed, making him the 9th player to be re-signed by the team during the offseason. The team still needs a new starter at nickel after cutting LaMarcus Joyner. They could use a veteran corner to push second-year starter Damon Arnett, and they still need to bring in a free safety.
You know, like I said, Arnett, I think he's going to be good. I think he is going to be good. He just got to learn how to keep his head up, you know. Don't get knocked out, you know, and then he'll be good to go. And I think Nevin Lawson, you know, going to nickel, that kind of makes sense. Give Amik Robinson a little bit of time to develop still in Gus Bradley's defense. We'll see what happens in the offseason, how much they can develop him in the offseason. But at least have Nevin Lawson there to kind of help him out a little bit now that LaMarcus Joyner's gone. You know, I'm looking forward to this. I think, yes, we do need a free safety, so it remains to be seen how the secondary is going to look. But if Arnett comes back and doesn't get hurt, you know, Mullen, Nevin Lawson, not on the outside but on the inside, you know, we'll get – and then don't forget, you know, we got Tanner Muse coming in. So I'm curious if that's why they haven't, you know, gone after a free safety. Maybe Gus Bradley sees something in him. I don't know. We'll get all into that in the upcoming episodes. But, yeah, this offseason has me excited so far.
Well, I may not make some of Raider Nation happy with this comment, but I wasn't real happy to see Nevin Lawson re-signed. I mean, he's been suspended a couple times, and when he's been on the field, I've been more worried than optimistic. So we'll see what happens. But when Nevin Lawson gets out on the field, I'm always worried. And I don't think that's going to change unless he really picks up his play and starts getting an interception. That's something he hasn't done since he's been with the Raiders. So I'm suspect. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's a signing I wasn't thrilled about, especially when the secondary is one of the weakest part of the team. He's a weak link, and they re-signed him to be part of a weak secondary. So I wasn't thrilled with it. All right, let's talk about some of the moves the Raiders made during free agency during the first few days. What did you see, and what do you like? We'll start with Homer.
You know, when they released Hudson, I started looking at the contracts, right? Like, why would they do this? And if you look at the contracts, the guys they're signing, the guys that are left on the roster, they all got 2-year contracts. So we're looking at a 2-year plan. So that's what I like the most. Our front office has a plan, right? We didn't sign guys that were going to cost us or inhibit us from signing our drafted players in 2019. Remember, everybody's boasting about that draft, right? We did. We got a lot of good players out of there. We got to re-sign those guys. That, you know, if you want to be a winning franchise, you need to re-sign the guys that you draft. That means you're drafting well. You're able to keep those guys there. They want to be there. So, you know, like we were talking about signing Kenyon Drake to $14 million. Now Josh Jacobs knows that he can get that payment. We're going to pay him if he's ready to go. But let's get that competition, you know. Kenyon Drake, that's that competition approach that they took with Mariota. And Derek Carr heard he heard it. You know, he heard that bell or whatever, you know, and he started competing. So I think that's where that is too. But they have a plan. They have a plan. And now we got 8 draft picks, if that holds up where they don't take away our 6th round. 8 draft picks. And I think, 7 of them in the first 5, right? Something like that. I mean, guys, we filled a lot of holes in free agency, and we still have 8 draft picks. And there's still free agency. And there's still the opportunity to trade. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but these guys have a plan, and it's there. It's obvious to me.
Now, Mike Mayock has said on more than one occasion, you really make your bread and butter as a GM on those middle round draft picks. So what I did was I went ahead and took a look back at the 2016 draft and looked at all the players from that draft that the Raiders added either last year or this year. Here's the list. There are a total of 8 players. So this year, they added Nick Martin, who was a 2nd-round pick, number 50 overall. Then last year, they added Carl Nassib, who was a 3rd-round pick, number 65 overall. Then they added this year Yannick Ngakoue, who was a 3rd-round pick, number 69 overall. 4 picks behind him was Kenyon Drake, number 73 overall, so we brought him in. Behind him in round 4, Nick Kwiatkowski, we brought him in last year. He was a 4th-round pick. And then a 5th-round pick from that draft was Quentin Jefferson. We brought him in. And then, not to mention, we brought in 2 players that were undrafted free agents. We brought in Corey Littleton last year. And, of course, the Raiders picked up Jalen Richard as an undrafted free agent in 2016. So if you look at last year and this year combined, there are 8 players now on the Raiders roster, either round 2 or lower, that have been added to the team. So good job to Mike Mayock and the Raiders organization for looking at those picks and bringing them in.
And yes, you're right, Homer. We did get that 6th-round draft pick back on appeal. Josh Dubois announced that on Twitter a couple of days ago. So we do have that 6th-round pick back. My view on free agency. I like some of the moves a lot. Like I said already, Ngakoue, Kenyon Drake, John Brown, I really do like them. The thing that I didn't like was watching Anthony Harris slip out of our fingers for $5 million. Why couldn't we? It was $5 million that we could have offered him and he would have taken it. Safeties are signing for low amounts this year, and we haven't done anything with our defensive backfield. All the good ones are going to be gone. So I like the pickups. I don't like that we haven't moved on the defensive backfield other than Nevin Lawson. And that should tell you enough right there what I think about their moves.
Overall, I think they've done a good job, though.
Overall, I would say okay.
Absolutely. And I think that all the signings that they have made already are pointing to what they're going to do in the draft. So they're going to take an offensive tackle in the draft. They're going to take a free safety. They'll probably take a linebacker. They're going to take probably, a backup interior lineman again. And then they'll get, and they're talking to Cordell Patterson, right? You hear that rumor floating around. So they're probably going to look for like a return specialist, something like that, a utility guy. I feel like they really do have a plan, and it's showing in free agency. They kept it close to the vest before free agency, and there were, everything was going crazy, and then boom, they just started rolling, and now you see the plan. And I think that's, they're going to draft. I think they're going to do. It depends, right? It depends on what they do in the draft. They got to hit a home run, but if they do, or bat 300, you know what I mean? We're in good shape.
All right, T3, why don't you give us another rendition of Heidi's High Five?
And now it's time for another Heidi's High Five.
All right, here is this week's version of Heidi's High Five. Number 1, John Gruden loves him some former first-round picks. Former number 3 overall pick Solomon Thomas becomes the next in that line. Although he's not projected as a starter at the time of this airing, he could become, and he should become, a quality rotational defensive line piece that the Raiders picked up for not a lot of money. Number 2, the signing I really liked was a guy I've been pounding the table for a couple of years now. Edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue is now reunited with Gus Bradley, whom he has called a father figure, and the hope is that he can really become that sack machine that the nation has truly been looking for. Fingers crossed. Number 3, I want to take this opportunity to wish Nelson Aguilar well. He cashed in on his great year last year, and I'm still happy that the Raiders didn't overpay just to bring him back. Veteran John Brown was added. He has the speed and the size similar to Henry Ruggs, but with more experience. The question that this poses is, does this mean that the confidence in Henry Ruggs is not as great as we once thought? An interesting question indeed. Number 4, and you heard this just a second ago, safety Anthony Harris signed a 1-year deal with the Eagles for $5 million. I'm reporting this because this was both the player that the Raiders needed at the price they were obviously looking to pay. Now, I hope the Raiders still have a plan to bring someone in at free safety. If not, this may be the big fish that got away. And number 5, I'm concerned about the optics of the offensive line. Gabe Jackson was asked to take a pay cut from $9.6 million to $5 million, and we saw how that went over. Rodney Hudson wanted out, which all happened quite suddenly, and the Raiders were lucky to get something at least of value back. Kyle Long came in for a workout, left, and then instantly signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. What concerns me is that the Raiders are projecting the fact that they're trying to lowball their players and not showing much appreciation for the guys who truly got it done in 2020, that O-line. I hope those optics change. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is this week's version of Heidi's High Five.
Hear, hear. I agree. I like the signing of Solomon Thomas. I think he could be a sneaky good signing. He had a rough start to his career, but I still think he has a lot of good potential. And I also am worried about the optics of the offensive line. Rodney Hudson wanted out. It was rather sudden. It was, he saw the way his brothers on the line were being treated, and it pissed him off. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. He wanted to go somewhere where he was appreciated.
And there's probably a lot more to that story that we don't know. We may never find out, but it just didn't set well. But like you mentioned, Heidi, the Solomon Thomas pickup, I'm happy about. And if Solomon Thomas and David Irving, if these two guys can really play to their potential, imagine what kind of a beast that defensive line is going to be rotationally, coming in and out.
All right, so for me, I'm going to go with number 2. All right, the so-called father figure, right? That's what Gus Bradley provides, right? People talk about players not wanting to play for John Gruden, so he brings in coaches that players want to play for, right? Because Gruden is focused, like hyper-focused, right? So he's bringing in a defensive coordinator that players want to come to. You know what I mean? So at first, people were complaining, nepotism, right? But now you see Yannick Ngakoue coming to the Raiders because he wants to play for Gus Bradley. And then that led to the Jefferson, right? The defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson signing because he played with Yannick in college, right? So these are like dominoes falling in place for us, right? This is all working out for us because John Gruden is, bringing in guys that he knows players like, and that he knows Gruden knows that Bradley can coach young defensive backs. So while we're concerned that we're not making any moves in the secondary, I think we made the major move in the secondary by bringing in Gus Bradley. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see that players want to come play for Gus Bradley. That way Gruden can focus on his offense, and he has a coach that can bring in guys that want to play on his defense, on the defensive side of the ball. So that's perfect for me. I love that. All right, now, number 5, right? Yeah, again, goodbye, Gabe. Goodbye, HUD. Thanks for everything. It sucks that Kyle Long came in and walked out, but he went to the Chiefs, right? His first thought is, well, I want to win a Super Bowl. Okay, great. That's fine. We're building. We're still building here. No big deal, right? So I think the optics, though, I wouldn't be too concerned that they're negative on Gruden, right? Because they're making moves. They're still going young. It's just these older players that don't want to take a cut because they're going into their third contract. You know what I mean? So, but the younger players still want to play. And like I said, they got a plan, a 2-year plan. They're bringing in guys, and they're bringing in contracts so they don't shoot themselves in the foot, that they can re-sign their young guys. So that is the optics we need to focus on, I believe, is that they are setting themselves up as a front office to keep the guys that they know are a fit for their team. So that, to me, is what we need to focus on, how we need to see things, and not get upset, right, and start knee-jerk reactions on social media, because that's ridiculous, right? And that is what is going to lead me to Homer's Hammer. That's what you get, Heidi.
My goodness. The toys are out. Heidi, do you think everybody's ready for this?
I think Homer's going to jump through the screen if he doesn't.
Okay. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new segment. We talk about a lot of things on this show. Some things good, some things bad, and we don't always agree. But sometimes you just have to drop the hammer. So we're going to step back, take our seats, and we're going to let our guy Homer take the podium and discuss a topic that's on his mind. Now, he brings passion, he brings fire, but most importantly, he is coming to drop the hammer. Here he is, Raider Homer, with Homer's Hammer.
Homer's Hammer.
All right, this goes out to all the Monday morning GMs. Here we are releasing this episode on Monday. And we're playing Monday morning GMs ourselves. But the one thing I think is important to do, Raider Nation, is not to get upset and start posting ridiculous crap on social media talking about Mike Mayock and John Gruden don't know what they're doing, that they need to be fired. Dude, that's ridiculous. We've just been explaining this whole episode about how they have a plan, how they are bringing in good players. Yes, not everything is perfect, but it's gonna work out. So all you can do is continue to be a positive person in the Raider Nation and show that we are not going to be this fan base, this toxic fan base that's going to trash our team and whenever something happens that we don't want to happen. We're not going to trash our team like that, right? We're going to get behind our team, united under the shield, and we're going to cheer for our team. Win, lose, or tie, we're Raiders until we die. All right, stay positive, Raider Nation, because things are going to start looking up. This is a franchise right now that is being patient, so it's important that we do the same thing. You cannot embarrass us as a fan base because other fan bases are out there laughing at us, man. Don't think that they're not, dude. They see us on social media as well, man. I mean, it's ridiculous, some of the things that we say as a fan base, man. Our job is to cheer for the team, and that is it. We have no control over this team. All we can do is speculate and enjoy each other's company as a fan base, and hell, even cry when we lose together. One thing, though, that is absolute is that we must compose ourselves with pride and poise. Don't forget that, Raider Nation. Pride and poise, all right? Seemingly, there's not a lot to be proud of when we're not winning, but there is, Raider Nation. We, as a fan base, are giving it our all, giving back to our communities, doing things that most other fan bases don't do because that's how we represent the Raiders, right? That's what the Raiders did. That Al Davis, Mark Davis, always doing good things for the community, always giving back to the community. We've talked about that a lot on this podcast, Raider Nation. So make sure that you stay positive, stay patient, because, man, we are going places, and John Gruden's going to take us there.
Bully, bully.
I'm not as enamored with Gruden as Homer is. I think he's definitely fallen short in several areas. But you know what? He's the coach right now, and he deserves our support. And as a Raiders fan, that's what I'm going to give him.
And I'm not always going to agree. I sit here and I sit in my chair and I play Monday morning GM and Tuesday and everything else like I've got all kinds of power and knowledge and everything else. But I'll tell you, going by my draft boards and selections, I've missed as often as I've made. So I think that could be said for a lot of us. But you're right, Heidi. I mean, Gruden's the coach. I didn't necessarily agree with him getting the big contract coming back in. And I worried that the version of Gruden that we saw, 2.0, was going to be far less than when he first came in. I think the jury's still out on that. He really has to hit on this year's draft, and we need to start retaining some of the players we bring in. And the important thing is, I think this is something we all agree on, we need to just bring guys in and have them play the positions they're supposed to freaking play. I mean, don't bring in projects and try to convert them to something they're not. Let's bring guys in who are proven. Let's put them where they need to be put, and let's play them where they need to be played. Maybe Gus Bradley can take the reins of this defense and put guys where they were. I know he was fired as head coach of the Jaguars, didn't do a good job, but what is his specialty? Being a defensive coach, not being a head coach. How many times have we seen offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators take over as a head coach for a team and fail miserably? Well, let's let Gus Bradley do what he does best, which is lead the defense. And let's hope that John Gruden can coach and bring the team back to the playoffs like he did when he was the original Chucky, way back in the day. So, again, I agree with Homer. We need to support the team, but we can still agree to disagree.
Yeah, and I agree.
You guys stay positive. That's what's key. That's all I'm saying. I think, we got to give this front office a chance to learn, right? Yes, we all know that Mayock came in from being a TV analyst, man. But he did well in the 2019 draft. The draft after COVID, all that still remains to be seen how well he did in that draft. But I agree with you, and I think Mike Mayock agrees with you, and he said it himself. Going back and getting players to play their position is what they're focused on now. They tried to maybe get cute with these draft picks, and they couldn't do it because they don't have the roster. They got to focus more on the players that can play their position. In the future, you could probably do that, but this franchise, this front office is learning still because it's still fairly young, and it's gonna be all right, Raider Nation. That's all I'm saying though. But you guys stay positive. That's what I like about working with you guys. And yes, you force me to think, and because I'm a homer, we all know that. But I can also admit when we make a bad decision, But I'm also gonna look at what's best for the overall team, as we said it before. Be patient, and stay calm. Don't be so negative. That's all I'm saying.
If you need a linebacker, bring in a linebacker. If you need a running back, bring in a running back. The thing that concerns me is that the front office had to learn that. They shouldn't have to learn that. You bring in a third-round wide receiver / quarterback and try to convert him to a running back and wonder why he doesn't succeed. You shouldn't have to be a professional organization to realize that that's not going to work. Very rarely does it work.
But they're human. They're going to make mistakes. You know what I mean? So you have to give people room to grow, right? Derek Carr throws an interception. That was the equivalent of Mike Mayock throwing an interception, drafting Lynn Bowden. You know what I mean? So lesson learned. That's all I'm saying. They're not gonna come in and be perfect. Nobody's gonna be perfect.
Yeah, and like I said, my concern is that they shouldn't have had to learn it. They should have known.
Yeah. The amazing thing is that Bowden, they let go of Bowden without even giving him a chance. I mean, they cut bait with him before the season even started. We had no training camp, so really didn't know what he was going to be able to produce.
He had the offseason issue. They don't want that from a draft pick. All right? That's how don't forget that part of it. You know what I mean? They don't want to be dealing with some offseason stuff with a guy that's a rookie that hadn't even made it to camp yet.
I'll just point out he did fine with Miami. He was a weapon for them for the time that they put him in there. I will also say that they took a big chance and a big reach on Tanner Muse in the third round too. You don't bring a guy in the third round who's going to be a projected special teams war daddy. I mean, and he didn't see the field the whole season. Now, I'm hoping that there's some value there, but I don't know. Again, the jury's still out. On this whole third round that the Raiders picked. Edwards is going to have to stay healthy. Bowden's gone. Muse, we don't know.
6'2", 225, 440. Tanner Muse. All right? Like I said, let's see what Gus Bradley can get out of that kid. All right? Before we pass judgment on him. I believe that the Raiders went ahead and gave him the surgery and sat him down, just knowing that he was a project guy. But yes, they can't do project things this year. They can't draft project players this year. They have to draft players that are ready to come in and play the position. That way we can get over that 8-8 hump.
But see, here's the same rationale. We bring in a guy like Tack McKinley. We pay him. We give him surgery. We let him heal, and then we let him go. So what was the point? I mean, to go ahead and make that risk where they could have probably taken that and gone another direction. Now, again, you're not going to hit with all your chances, but again, he went a couple of different places and wasn't successful. And why take a chance on a guy like that if he's not going to produce, and then just go ahead and let him go? I think this, again, is kind of representative of some of the hits and misses of this organization, more misses than hits so far.
Maybe, but Josh Jacobs, hit. Hunter Renfrow, hit, right? Colton Miller, a hit. You know what I mean? Max Crosby is a hit. Cleveland Farrell, maybe. We'll see. But you know what? They got Kwiatkowski and Littleton, right? Yes, they didn't play all that well, but they restructured. Those are guys that you're trying to bring in that's going to change the culture, too. That's going to be team-first type players. You know what I mean? So they are – that's what I mean. Maybe they're not hitting home runs right now, but they are batting 300 in my mind.
And Max Crosby – he's not an every down guy. He wore down. I mean, he's got a motor that goes and goes and goes.
17 sacks in 2 seasons.
I know. However, what I'm saying is that when he comes in, and of course Ngakoue comes in on the other side, you're going to have 2 guys that have a good presence as far as pass rushing go. But how many times did you see opposing offenses get around the end? There was no contain at all on either defensive end side.
Coaching. That's coaching. That's coaching, though.
Which comes back to Gruden.
Because Max Crosby was crashing down.
And it comes back to Gruden because
no, Gruden's the offensive coach.
He put his buddy in as the defensive coordinator. Obviously, was not working, and he still didn't get rid of him. It comes back to Gruden.
Oh man! All right, like I said, man. Here we go. Right. Here we go. Maybe,
like I said, he's our coach. I support him.
Case dismissed.
Moving right along.
All right, give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or text message at that number, or send in a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts. And it's time for Hey Homer, Did You Know?
Hey Homer, did you know?
All right, let's have some fun. All right, now it's time for another edition of Hey Homer, Did You Know? In this segment, I'm going to ask Homer and Heidi and the rest of our listening audience a Raiders-related question with 3 possible answers to choose from. It's multiple choice, so just give it your best guess. So here goes. Here's this week's question. This player spent 3 seasons with the Silver and Black, and during that time made it into the end zone a total of 25 times. He's now ranked number 30 on the list of top scorers for the Raiders, which includes kickers. Of all non-kickers, this player is ranked number 23 among all Raiders scorers. Who is he? A. Michael Bush, B. Michael Crabtree, or C. Latavius Murray? Homer, I'll let you go first. Or do you want Heidi to go first with a hint?
This is Homer's segment, all right? I got this, Heidi. Let's see. I don't know. I think Heidi's giving me a hint right now. You got a hint, Heidi?
I don't know.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thanks. Well, then why'd you highlight C then?
Because that's the bottom part of the spreadsheet that I have selected.
Well, I'm not going to choose that one. You cheated.
Homer, what do you think? A, B, or C?
I'm going to say A, Michael Bush.
Heidi, what do you think?
I'm going to say B, Michael Crabtree.
Heidi, you're correct. Michael Crabtree.
Oh, God.
Heidi's right again.
I don't know these answers. I'm just getting them right.
I'm not giving her any information. So Michael Crabtree is the answer. He was ranked number 23 among all Raiders scorers. He was with the Silver and Black for 3 years and made it into the end zone a total of 25 times.
All right, well, now that she stole my segment, Hey Homer, Did You Know? I'm going to go ahead and lead us into the segment that I came up with for her, Heidi's Hero, the second best segment of the show.
It's the best. Admit it. You're just jealous.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Never.
Anyways, this one's going to be a really short one. Some news came out this week that I found very impressive and was very surprising. Our buddy, Max Crosby, he was on Will Compton's podcast, Bussin' with the Boys. And in it, he talked about his growth as a player and his growth as a person. And he revealed that he is actually now 1 year sober off of alcohol. I think that's great. For somebody as young as him to be able to recognize that he had a problem and then be able to come forward and talk about it so that's an inspiration and encouragement to others. I'm sure Darren Waller probably helped him along a little bit, encouraged him, but I just think the courage to come out and say that and admit that and be that example makes him a Heidi's hero this week.
You know, that's a great story. This is a great story in my mind, right? We're talking about the optics of the team, right? These are the kind of players that John Gruden's bringing in, right? A Darren Waller who has the determination and the strength to overcome his addiction, right? And then he starts performing music. Then Max Crosby comes in. Max Crosby performs music with him. And then all of a sudden, Max Crosby's getting sober. And within the year that he's been with the Raiders, talking about optics, right? This is good locker room chemistry right here. This is good locker room culture right here. This is good team culture. That's what I'm saying, Raider Nation. Be patient because, man, these guys are putting something together. Yes, they're making some mistakes, but they're still putting a good team together. A team full of high-character guys that are willing to sacrifice all their fun time for professional time. And these, we're going to make the playoffs, man. We were so close last year. So close, man. And I think they made the moves. You know, yes, there's still some question marks in the secondary, but we still have the draft and we still have free agency. So I think it's all coming together. I really do. And I like seeing these young kids overcome their addictions. This is an inspiration for me. Like I said, you know, these athletes that are like a Max Crosby, you know, he got the Raider tattoo and then he wants to do better and he wants to be a Raider. I mean, I'm glad to see these guys do so well, man. That's so awesome, man. You know, because that's the kind of stuff, you know, you want. These are the type of people your kids can look up to, man. That's important, you know. That's the new Raider way. you know, it's coming through, man. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Not only is this a great story, but for a lot of us, this is life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a really good inspiration for me. You know, I know that we've mentioned before that I have some issues that I can relate to what he's going on, that he is going through. And, you know, I'll just come straight out and say it. I'm 4.5 years sober, completely sober. And I need to be because my life would be ruined if I wasn't. And I don't come out and say that very often. And, you know, he just inspired me to do that.
Congratulations to you, Heidi. I mean, that's great. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, that's the first time I've said that in public outside of a meeting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's something that's kind of scary to talk about. You know, that's what makes this so courageous.
Yeah.
You know, and it inspires people like me and you, Heidi, because, yeah, both of us have gone through these issues, you know, to come out and talk about our issues, man. This is what it's all about. This is the positive type of stuff you look for, Raider Nation. All right? When we're not getting the wins, this is what the Raider Nation is doing, you know. And Max Crosby, players like Max Crosby, Darren Waller, Derek Carr, those are the type of players that become a part of Raider Nation, which encompasses the team, the fans, and the players. You know, these are the reasons you stay positive for, you know. Again, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
All right, let's wrap this up. And that about does it for this week. I want to thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast. Please give us a call and give us your feedback on interviews, our takes, and share with us your take. We'll get you on the show. If you'd like to help support the show, buy us a little something at buymeacoffee.com/onlynationpod. You can find me, Heidi Stabbert, on social media as @KeblerPromDress on Twitter and Instagram, or Heidi Stabbert on Facebook.
All right, Raider Nation, once again, this is the Only Nation podcast, and we want to hear from the Only Nation. So give us a call at 904-701-8667. You can leave us a voicemail or send us a text message. You can also email us at onlynationpod@gmail.com, and you can find us both on Twitter and Instagram by going to @onlynationpod. We're also on Facebook and YouTube at The Only Nation Podcast, and be sure to hit like and follow wherever you catch us on social media. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app and toss us a 5-star review if you think we're up to it. And you can find me, Raider Homer, at theraiderhomerchannel.buzzsprout.com. There will be icons that you can click on that website that will take you to all my social media accounts.
And once again, we want to remind you how important it is for the growth of this show for us to get your input. Send us your name and address so we can send you some free Raiders merch. Call us and tell us what you want to know. Throw us an interesting nugget that we can use on one of our upcoming episodes and become a part of what we're doing here. Remember, this is the Only Nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us, 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. You can find me on social media, on Twitter at T3_sports703, on YouTube at T3 Sports Guy, and on Facebook at Tom THOM Jones.
As always, we look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
I introduced a new hashtag on another podcast this week, and I'm rolling with it. We are the nation of Vegas villains. See you next time.